Welcome to another episode of Writing Daily, where every day we talk about some sort of a writerly thing that helps us be better, more competent, more effective writers. We cover the gamut from syntax and grammar, which, by the way, I know, like it's not my strong suit, but that has to be discussed. We have to do our best to keep striving forward to make sure that we get our words out on the page. And so we also focus on things like mindset, and a whole slew of other things that help us become better writers, whether we're doing this as a hobby, writing a grocery list, or creating the great American novel. I'm going to be talking about a great American novel today. That is with the, what the heck is it? Bruce, Bill, welcome. This is going to be The Catcher in the Rye today. I think I'm going to read a little bit of the first page of it and discuss why it's probably one of the best, most groundbreaking books that have been written in sort of like the last 100 years. It's really important stuff, and how it connects to this idea of my show title, which is sort of like Diarrhea of the Pen. But we'll get to that in a moment. Alan, welcome. What I wanted to, at least before we get too far off base here, good afternoon to you too, Bruce. Life is good here. I'm just going to talk about writing today. What's going on with you? Anita, welcome. So we're gathering people. And by the way, if you're here for the first time, I am Devin Galaudet, the editor-in-chief of In the Know Traveler and the author of the forthcoming memoir, 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes. If you like what I'm doing, please make sure that you hit the like button. It means a great deal. It also lets Facebook know, and YouTube, and wherever you're watching, that we've got something fun here. So please consider doing that. I also wanted to point out that we are now, this is actually our 86th show. So that means I've been doing this. I think I've been doing it for 90 days, and I think over the course of the last 90, I've maybe missed 4 days for either sickness or one of a couple things. I think Mother's Day, I sort of took the day off so I could spend the time with Mom. And so anyway, I'm back to doing this as daily as I can. And what's exciting is that I finally got everything up on iTunes all at the same time. So even though this is episode 86, we have 85 episodes on iTunes. I think I'm about 70 behind on devingallaudet.com, but I'm going to get there. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. And I wanted to read you this first page of The Catcher in the Rye. I got mine like it's a classic old musty dust hardcover that I've owned for like the last 25 years. I've read this multiple times. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And this is the way it starts. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it. If you want to know the truth, in the first place, that stuff bores me. And in the second place, my parents would have had about 2 hemorrhages apiece if I told anything pretty personal about them. They're pretty touchy about anything like that, especially my father. They're nice and all, but I'm not trying to say that, but they're also kind of touchy as hell. Besides, I'm not going to tell you my whole goddamn biography or anything. I'll just tell you about this madman stuff that happened to me around last Christmas, just before I got pretty run down and had to come out here and take it easy. So what we've got here is the protagonist, Holden Caulfield, who's kind of not a protagonist. He's an antagonist. And, so why are we reading it? First off, it's a great book. It's a memorable book. And I think what people try to do with his writing, in other words, J.D. Salinger's writing, is that they attempt to get what people are trying to mimic in him is sort of like the authenticity of who this character is. Like, we know right off the bat who this Holden Caulfield is. He's annoyed. He himself is touchy. He's a little bit angry, and he's kind of telling you this story, but they're going to be his rules, right? And so, Marco, welcome. So there's this great thing that's going on, and it happens throughout the book, where the narrator is sort of like, you don't really quite trust him, but you trust him enough to go along with him for this ride. And it's a great ride. It's a great read. It's a lot of fun. And so I think the important thing that I tend to try to take away from this particular book is that my wife has this saying that she says, let your freak flag fly. And really what she's saying is, no matter who you are, how nutty you might be, you are going to throw that thing out there no matter what, and kind of allow that to sort of like flow freely. And I think that's what we like about Holden Caulfield, is that he's goddamn tired with everything, and he's annoyed all the time, and he's telling you he's annoyed, and he's unhappy with things, and everything sort of pisses him off, and his parents are jerks, and everybody around him is a jerk. He's not a jerk, he's misunderstood, but that's beside the point. And so he goes into these constant diatribes about his feelings about everything. And I think what's great about it, and I think one of the lessons that's really important to go into any first draft, is that you allow that character to be as out there as possible, to be whoever that character is, as flawed as that character is. You know, I remember a few days ago, we had one of my former writing teachers who just kind of poked her head in and she split. And she wrote about how her characters would come to her in the shower and have a conversation with her about who they were, so she understood what to talk about and how to represent them on the page. And I think, you know, certainly in a fiction sensibility, this makes total sense. You want to make sure that whomever you're writing about is going to have that authentic ring to it, which means you kind of have to turn off your filter to allow that character's nuttiness or imperfections to shine through. Because I think one of the things that we love about Holden Caulfield is that he's completely flawed, right? Like, he's probably somebody that we know in real life, and to many extents, we sort of just roll our eyes at this person. But on the page, he's a fascinating character. We want to know more. We want to know what he's thinking. We want to know what he's going to do. And J.D. Salinger is time and time again going to give us those insights, because Holden Caulfield's just going to blather away about whatever he's thinking and feeling. Now, that said, this is also a crafted book. So it's not like, oh, Marco, Kristen, Amanda, thanks for being here. So not only is he this authentic character, but he's also very controlled. And when I say controlled, it's kind of like, I would say that we let that freak flag wave in the first draft, like, go everywhere that the character wants to go. But as the writer, we get to rein that stuff in, right? It can't be just complete nuttiness page after page after page. We want to know what's at stake for the characters. We want to have some sort of a sense of story, something that's going to be moving this story forward, that's also going to be compelling and enriching to us. Because if it's just sort of like page after page of sort of the nonsense, at some point that's when we close the book and we don't care if we go back to it. But so what Salinger's doing here is that we're getting the story and we're getting these other things, and we're getting a lot of slice of life of this sort of not really likable character, but that's the reining in part, right? So we want the character to go out wherever it needs to go, and then we rein away, we sort of chip away at the dialogue, we chip away at the description, we chip away at that character, so we're leaving the reader with sort of like, for lack of a better description, we're leaving that character with the fillet, or we're leaving our readers with the fillet of what that character is all about. And so if you have not read The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, I think it's just kind of a must. If you're a new writer and you haven't been, if you haven't looked at older books, in other words, if you're 12 years old, you may want to pick up the Catcher in the Rye, because it's a fantastic book. Anyway, that said, keep writing daily, keep doing this thing. If you have questions, please kind of put them down in this box. Whatever box it is, I'll eventually track it down and I'll find it. And if it's a question that's really sort of like pertinent to how we as a group write in community, then I'm happy to do an episode about it, and I'm happy to answer your questions as best I can. And always, consider please hitting the like button so I know that I'm on the right path. Anyway, that's what I've got for today. 10 minutes of writing daily. Now I'm going to go sit down and do some writing. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys again tomorrow with more writing daily. Thanks for being here.